All right, so let's talk about tariffs and how they're not actually going to save us any money and how bringing back manufacturing jobs is probably not even likely with the tariffs that we have right now. Let's start with it like this, okay? And before we get into that, let's look at this part. You've got key stakeholders. You've got your workers up here, okay? We're passive stakeholders. We only get to sit here and watch what happens. You have your execs and oligarchs, okay? They're the ones that make the decisions for a company to start a manufacturing plant and where that's gonna be. And then you've got the countries and the politicians as your other ones, okay? They're going to enact policies that encourage or discourage manufacturing here. So let's take a look at it. All right, so give you a quick example, right? You've got tariffs. Our cookware pre-tariff for the business, they pay $10, okay? You as the consumer, you pay $20. Okay, well now we've got a 45% tariff on, let's say, cookware. Well now that cookware is gonna cost you $14.50 for the business, all right? For you as the consumer, if they pass on 100% of that cost, it's gonna be $24.50 for you now, okay? So now it's $4.50 more. Okay, well, let's say no, but the tariffs, that'll bring the manufacturing back. Okay, pain for gain. Well, what's the timeline like? It's 5+ years, at least, okay? Let's see what that looks like. So that starts with, first, we have to have a company, they say, okay, my cookware over in China is more expensive. Let me see if I can find a domestic manufacturer. They look around and say, okay, there's no domestic manufacturer. So what do? Well, they're gonna do an analysis. They're gonna do an analysis to see if making a plant here is profitable. And if it's profitable, theoretically, okay, that's big if it is, but then they've got to do the following steps that are going to take years. And that's if the analysis says it's profitable, okay? And there's a ton of issues with that. First, they got to find a location. Then they got to procure the equipment. They got to recruit and train the workforce that's going to do this manufacturing that hasn't been here for decades. And then they've got to create a new supply chain. And here's the problem with all of this, okay? The problem that you've got here is that your cookware, you're gonna pay $24.50. And you know what? They're not gonna have a response to this in any short time. So you're gonna pay more for every single thing that costs because of these tariffs that go up. And not only that, but here's the other part. When you're looking at this and you're trying to take in, like, what does this mean to me? Here's the problem. The business is going to do this analysis, and guess what? It's gonna look and see, hey, we don't just sell cookware here locally in the US. And we sell cookware elsewhere. And if I put manufacturing here, I'm only servicing this market. So I'm actually more effective doing it elsewhere. The odds that the supply chain is going to be cheaper and more profitable for the company to move it here to the US because of how the global economy is set up is highly unlikely. And even if it is, let's say it is again, guess what? This equipment manufactured overseas, tariffs on that. Guess what? The new supply chain, you're going to need the raw materials. And guess where those raw materials are going to come? From overseas. And so those raw materials are going to come from overseas, and they're going to have tariffs on them. And on top of that, there's no guarantee, given how things are going, that you're even going to have tariffs for a sustained amount of time. So what companies are going to do, they're just going to say, I'll pay more for this cost, and the consumer will pay more, and will keep my profits. I'll keep my profits, you, the consumer, will pay more. So who's gonna get burned? Us, the workers. Jobs aren't gonna come back, but guess what? Our wages aren't gonna keep up with tariffs like this. Is your wages gonna keep up with 45, 20, 30% tariffs? No, your wages aren't gonna keep up with tariffs like that. So you're gonna get hosed. We're all gonna get hosed. This short-term pain for gain, there is no gain to be had here. The gain is simply for the businesses. Us, the workers, we're gonna continue to get slammed.